14 Georgia versus #1 LSU for the SEC Championship. Welcome back to Get Sharp, everybody. We're here at Legacy Stadium once again. Joe Fortenbaugh and our main guy, Chuck Esposito.
Thanks, Joe.
Chuck, how's everything going with you? Did you have a nice Thanksgiving?
I did. How about you?
It was outstanding.
Good.
You won about 4 pounds, which is exactly what I was going for.
Know the feeling. We had an over-under up on you at 3.5, so if you had the over, you're in good shape.
If you teased it, though, you were in good shape with the calories at 3,500. But, all right, big game today in college football. We're getting ready for bowl season. Obviously, things are going to be jumping here at Legacy's come bowl season, but we'll get more into that later. But we've got to finish up some business before we can even think about that. And this is the big one we're all looking forward to this weekend. Now, LSU comes out around a 10-point favorite offshore, but immediately gets bet up to about 13. What we see is that LSU, people love them. How is Georgia going to keep this game close?
Well, as you said, it's LSU. They come off that win against Arkansas. That's the last thing people remember. They dismantled that Arkansas team. I think for Georgia to keep it close, a Georgia team that was 0-2, people were calling for a head coach's head. He wasn't going to be there. They rattled off 10 straight wins. However, those wins have not come against Alabama, have not come against Arkansas. They played the easier road of the teams in the SEC. But you look at the common opponents of both these two teams, very similar stats. I think for Georgia to keep it close, it's all on D. 40% of their opponents' plays against them, they've given up either no yards or negative yards. They have to keep it close. It's all based on D. We'll see what happens. But even if LSU loses, I still think they go to the national title game.
You know what, I was going to get to that in a little bit, but why don't we jump into that now, because that's one of the big questions people are looking at. Alabama is finished. They're done for the year. They've got 1 loss. LSU beat them earlier.
I don't mean to interrupt, but they almost get a break. They're sitting on the couch as we are right now, knowing that they're in the national championship game, regardless of what happens. And here you look at LSU that has to play a game in the Georgia Dome. It's going to be packed with Bulldog fans on that carpet, so you know that there's going to be a lot of people rooting for Georgia there who has nothing to lose. Get an LSU loss, and who knows, but I still think if they lose, they go.
House money for the Bulldogs, absolutely, in this one. When you talk about, let's talk about home field a little bit. We saw Georgia host a game like this earlier in the year against Boise. Boise came in and took them down. Now that seems like ages ago, because like you said, they've won 10 straight after losing that game to South Carolina the following week. LSU, though, they're going to bring a nice contingent into this game. Is there anything that rattles this football team at this point? Because every week that people have thought they were going to slip up, perhaps against Arkansas, perhaps in a letdown game following Alabama, they've still continued to blow out their opponents.
I don't think so. Unless they really come in this game totally flat, I don't think it happens. I mean, you look at the SEC Championship game, they have to love it. The last 4 years, you had the #1 ranked AP team in the SEC Championship. That's the case again this year. I think it's a great matchup, but Georgia has to play a perfect game, and LSU has to have a huge letdown. But again, if they lose, they're still in, so they can come in a little bit loose, I think, as well, and it wouldn't surprise me to see that number go up a little bit more.
Tough team to have a perfect game against, considering they play defense and special teams so well. It's a ball-hawking secondary that forces a lot of turnovers.
Don't ask them to make a field goal, because you never know with college kickers.
Let's talk about the quarterback battle. In this one, you've got Murray, you've got Jordan Jefferson. Jordan Jefferson, very serviceable, but certainly not a guy that if the defense lets him down, many people would think he can go out there and win the game. Do you see him in yet another situation where he just needs to run his offense, move the sticks? Because that defense has done everything for them. But if they would fall into a little bit of trouble against Georgia, can he bring them back and keep it close?
I think he can. I think he's going to be asked more to manage the game. I like Murray. I think he's played really well the second half of the season. I think if he has to trade points a little bit, I think he can. You look at Georgia, and they have more plays, scoring plays of 20 yards or more than any team in the SEC. You look on the other side of the ball, LSU on plays of 20 yards or more in pass plays is only letting opponents convert less than 15% of the time. So kind of an interesting stat there between these two.
Getting in the defense, Georgia only allowing 17.8 points per game. LSU second in the country at 10.6. Do we see this being a little bit more along the lines of an LSU-Alabama game, lower scoring defensive, or do you think these two teams can score a little bit? Because it's a pretty high total at about 46.5.
I don't think it'll be as low scoring as LSU and Alabama, but I do think for the most part that scoring is going to be at a minimum here. I think it'll be a close game for the most part. I think LSU pulls away late, but I think it stays under the number.
Are the Tigers playing for the national championship?
I think they are, Joe. I think they are.
Excellent stuff. As always, Chuck Esposito from the Venetian and the Palazzo. We're here at Legacy Stadium. We'll be back on Sunday to review 2 big games on the NFL schedule. But until then, enjoy the games, everybody.